Hello, Sandy Bonanni, and good evening, and welcome to Canada. We have 35 laps of racing here today. If you've just joined us, a warm welcome to you. This is Breakaway F1. My name is Bob O'Connor. I'll be on commentary today, and we are in the 20th leg of this 24-leg Breakaway F1 Tier 1 season. This is Tier 1, which means that these are our top-tier drivers in this esports league. I absolutely cannot wait to see how this race unfolds. It was sheer drama last time out in France when Sifflé, the championship leader, overtook Mello the Mellow to claim the race win out at Circuit Paul Ricard. But today, of course, it is a new day, it is a new track, it is a new race. New motivations, new targets, new goals for all these drivers out here to do as well as they can. We have a nice grid. As you can see, the drivers are getting ready to make sure that they're all set in those cockpits of those absolutely fantastic cars and to begin their qualifying sessions before they go for that, of course, the hot lap and aim to place as high as possible. In the comment section already, we have the real Caboza, who is a driver in our Tier 2. He drives for Team Red Bull. Greetings to you too, and greetings to all of you who are joining us here bit by bit, slowly trickling in. It is going to be 18 minutes of qualifying, and as the qualifying session does start, these drivers will have a clear idea of how exactly the weather will look, both the race, which is coming up pretty soon as well. Cannot wait to see how it all unfolds, how it all pans out. 18 minutes of qualifying out here in Canada. As always, we would love to hear your thoughts on who will be on pole position, who will lay a claim for a potential race win out here. So many stories as we are about to get into the business end of the season. There are 24 races in Breakaway F1. This is race number 20, meaning there are just 4 more to go after this. We cannot wait to find out how it all pans out. This is the 20th leg of Breakaway F1. A warm welcome to you. Yes, we are out here in Canada. Now, this is, of course, a Tier 1, as I've mentioned. We have 2 tiers of racers in Breakaway. Every Tuesday and Thursday, our top-tier drivers, that being Tier 1, they race. And on Mondays and Wednesdays, you can catch our Tier 2 drivers, who, of course, are racing, hoping to qualify for automatic promotion to this tier, or to be able to make it to this tier via the playoffs. We're in Canada today. Now, the Canadian Grand Prix has been the scene of some epic races, and that's thanks in part to a circuit layout that challenges drivers and provides overtaking opportunities. In its most basic form, this circuit, Gilles Villeneuve, is essentially straights and chicanes, plus 1 hairpin, so plenty of opportunities for slipstreaming and big braking zones. Oh yes. What a race potentially we have in prospect, and if you're a regular viewer of this league, you will know that the likes of Josh does not like to waste time, and he gets out on track as soon as he humanly can. Let's see what the drivers are thinking as far as tire selection is concerned. At the moment, it looks like M. Fundo and that AlphaTauri is the only driver to select a medium compound tire, but of course it is quite early in this 18 minutes of qualifying. A lot can happen between now and the start of course, qualifying. Well, the first driver out, it seems, is Romeo Massingo, a.k.a. Mandela, in that Williams. All right, Mandela, we will take a close look at how your qualifying lap eventually goes, and we'll get a clear sense of how the drivers eventually place. As you can see, it is Mandela first out on track, and yeah, it's not the easiest track. We saw a time penalty shootout in Tier 2 yesterday, as the drivers pretty much, were flirting with the track limits and, incurred some time penalties there. Hello to Piso Dumoulin, he says. That's a South African word, a Sotho word for hello. Well, to Piso, hello to you. You had a fantastic race. You're having a fantastic season in that Ferrari. It is good to see you out here in the stands watching and maybe even learning from these Tier 1 drivers. So, you can catch Tapiso racing on Mondays and Wednesdays right here on Breakaway F1. And all our events, all our qualifying sessions begin at 7:30 p.m. and with the race following shortly after. All right, now here comes Mandla for the start of his hot lap. He's the first driver out. As you saw him coming through that final chicane, which can be tricky. Not to invalidate, he comes through this first slow corner, nice and clean does Mandla. You will be the first to set a time. You will lay down the gauntlet, followed closely behind by a McLaren. Is Mandla, it seems. Let's see how he handles this turn into the next slower corner. Hello, Empatso Piri. Good evening to you. In the comment section, we're watching Mandla out here in his Williams. Got out as soon as he humanly could, wants to set as quick a time as possible. Yes, into this chicane, also a huge chance of possible invalidation, but Mandla keeps it nice and clean, and he's now making his way, blitzing his way to this hairpin bend. The slowest corner, of course, before the end of this hot lap attempt. What can you do, Mandla, as you come through nice and clean, no invalidations? He is going nice and steady here into the final chicane. Of course, he's pushing as hard as he can as he's about to come into this braking zone, which he does. And he keeps it clean, not too hard on those curves does Mandla go. And what kind of a time will you set, Mandla? It is a 1:11.116, a absolute scorcher of an attempt there from Mandla. On his first hot lap attempt, followed closely, of course, by a McLaren, which may have invalidated because they have yet to set the time. But I want to make sure that we get a sense of how these drivers are doing as far as lap time is concerned. Josh, aka Damn Ninja, who's no stranger to going up onto his qualifying attempt as soon as possible, sets a 1:11.020. So that is the current time. As you can see, they're trickling in. Nick has set a 1:12.535, and D-Wax and that AlphaTauri and Thundo's teammate has currently set that 1:11.497. Right, let's catch up with one of the Ferraris. Bonds making his way through Sector 2. Had an unfortunate incident last time out. Crashed and could not set a time. Mello the Mellow, who was one of the stories of the previous race, sets a 1:10.063, the first driver to breach that 1 minute 10 seconds mark. Can we see a 1:09 today? Do you think so in Tier 1? Let us know. Yes, we can, says Cicla Lango, the championship leader, sets a 1:09.347. That is officially the gauntlet laid down by Cicla, who is no stranger to setting those lap times on absolute fire. Bonds comes through the third sector here. That's the driver that we're watching in the other Ferrari. He's got to hit that braking zone perfectly so as not to invalidate, but it looks like he has invalidated, has Bonds. So he will need to go around one more time to be able to set a time there. So we'll see how he fares on that hot lap attempt. Meanwhile, Selby in the Alfa Romeo, that would be Josh's teammate, Dan Ninja's teammate, is making the way into this final sector. 108, 109, 110, 111. Selby goes 1:12.161. Well, it looks like that time will not count. Ooh, and he climbs over the Red Bull, making his way out there. Is there damage for the Red Bull here? Mandla, we've lost Mandla, by the way, who had set a time, but Mandla's out of the session. The Red Bull, it looked like it was the Red Bull of Zotal, possibly, on an outlap. It's coming straight out the pit lane and clashed with Selby there, who now is trying to set another, is trying to go on another hot lap attempt. So, yeah, pretty bumpy start straight out of the pits for Zotal out here, but he's still on an outlap. So, well, hopefully he hasn't sustained any wing damage, and we'll be able to go straight onto that hot lap attempt. But of course, as you can see, bobbing back and forth, left and right, trying to warm up those soft compound tires. None of the drivers have selected any other tire than the soft. And as Zotal drove presumably past Mandla's tire, his stray tire left on the track there. So, yeah. Still just under 12 minutes to go in this qualifying session. The quickest time so far has been set by Cifre in the Ferrari. He is back in the pits. He's back in the garage, and he had set a 1:09.347. Now we're going to catch up with some of the drivers who are currently on their hot lap attempt. We did see Bongs try, but of course he got that invalidation and could not set a time. Bongs, so that would be Cifre's teammate, is going for one more attempt here. And is that a purple sector? For one of the other drivers, Devin Bongs is making his way through the Sector 2. It might have been a purple Sector 1, actually, for Bongs, who is seemingly driving the anger here as he makes his way through the second sector. This chicane has seen many a driver invalidate their lap attempts, but not Bongs in this instance. And as he goes straight here into this hairpin, he got to nail that braking point absolutely perfectly, and he hits this one pretty solidly, does Bong. So what can you do? Can you inch closer to the 110s? Will you be in the 111s, or will you be round about the time that Nick has set in the 112s? Well, Bongs, here is that tricky final chicane. Can you make it through unscathed? Yes, you can. And now you stare down that final straight, 110, 111.643, which puts Bongs in P8 provisionally as things stand, with just about 10.5 minutes to go in this qualifying session. Titus, one of the championship contenders, is now on a second outlap. He had set a 111.398, as you can see over there. But more and more drivers are beginning to pretty much bump the likes of Titus further and further down. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 drivers who have set times in the 110s. That would be Mellow the Mellow, Zotal, Lunds, and D-Wax in that AlphaTauri. Now, as things stand, we have Steefway, who had set a 1 minute 9.347. That is a provisional pole with just under 10 minutes to go. Mellow the Mellow had set a 110.063. We are now watching Zotal to see how he fares on his hot lap attempt. Zotal and teammate Lunds, the Red Bulls, holding it down at the sharp end of this grid. And this is definitely Zotal's in-lap. He's going much slower. But yeah, Zotal, Lunds, 3rd and 4th, and Josh, aka Damnesia, in 5th place as things stand. Now, things are changing quite a bit here, and we're going to watch Titus, who seems at the start of this second sector, by the way. It looks like he set a purple sector 1, and he's gone just under 2/10 quicker in that first sector. So, potentially, we are watching a provisional pole lap attempt from Titus, who has had a stellar season, definitely slower through the second sector by about 1/10 or just under 2/10. So Titus has a lot of work to do here if he is going to bother those top runners. But as things stand, he's making his way to that final chicane. What can you do? Try not to invalidate it. Oh, hits the wall of champions and loses the car. Does Titus? The best that Titus could do was a 111.398, but he was possibly 2/10 too hard, going too hard on that hot lap attempt, that he goes into the wall, does Titus, and he is out. His best time, 111.399. How good will that be or not? Titus has lost his car here with just about 9 minutes to go in this qualifying session. Titus, who currently sits 3rd in the Drivers' Championship standings, has lost the car. That is the big story in this qualifying session out here in Canada today. Well, Titus is out. What can the rest of these drivers do? Let's catch up with the likes of... we're going to watch Man Ray now in that... well, first sector looks okay. Does not quite look like a hot lap attempt for Man Ray, so we'll catch up with him. And another McLaren is gone. That was the McLaren of Tindo, as you can see there from the rear. Well, from the rear of the Mfundo, we saw the other McLaren of Tindo. Both McLarens cannot improve on their times, but Tindo was the highest place at 110.535. Provisionally, 5th place is Tindo in that McLaren, as we watch Mfundo making his way here through the beginning of the 3rd sector. Both McLarens are out. Still 7 minutes to go. Inati is also gone. We have lost Inati. We have lost the 86er, who unfortunately could not set a time. Yellow flags aplenty here in this qualifying session out here in Canada. Absolutely dramatic start to the day here as we see Mfundo. Well, he knows now that at least, 5 contenders have been taken out of this qualifying session, so Mfundo, well, there's a pretty good chance to improve on provisional P6 as things currently stand with 6.5 minutes to go. Mfundo goes about 2/10 quicker than that previous attempt. So Mfundo looking good here. At the start of the second sector, he really goes quite hard there on the curbs, does Mfundo. And quite a lot of work to do here. Of course, this chicane, did you keep it clean, Mfundo? Looks like you definitely made it. Well, you definitely made it, Mfundo, through that chicane cleanly. And, of course, into the hairpin, the slowest turn before this, of course, the final stretch here of this hot lap attempt. And Thundo, what can you do in this third sector? Your teammate, Inati, or rather your teammate, D-Wax, is also doing fairly well, provisionally P8 as things stand. Into the final chicane goes, and Thundo! Oh, he was cutting things really fine there, but he made it. He made it to set a 110.243, and Thundo currently sitting in P5 as things stand. Miss Bono in the comment section says, looks like Tier 2 is pulling a, well, Tier 1 is pulling a Tier 2. The spirit of Tier 2 very strong in this qualifying session. Mellow the Mellow, who's on a revenge mission after heartbreak at the end of the French Grand Prix, I beg your pardon, last week. What can you do in this third sector into this final chicane? Okay, maybe you're just coming in for a coming back into the pit. But currently, someone who looks to be up by about 4/100. No, Zotal has definitely invalidated, definitely. Yep, he's invalidated that attempt, so we're going to have to catch up with Zotal a little bit later. As things stand, it is Sequay who is on another hot lap attempt, but definitely is going slower than that time set. He sits currently in provisional pole position. Sharing the front row is Mellow the Mellow in that Mercedes. And, well, as you've just seen on your screen, Damnesia, aka Josh, has just nudged his way past those Red Bulls into provisional P3. So, taking a spot at the start of the second row provisionally is Josh. But this is Seaflay's hot lap attempt. No, this is Seaflay coming back into the pit lane. So Josh currently is in P3 as things stand. And yeah, definitely on a cool down lap, it seems, is Josh in that second sector. Oh, the DRS is open. Are you going for another push lap, Josh? Well, Josh currently sits in P3. Nudging the likes of Zotal and Lungs down to P4 and 5. Stuck together like teammates they are. Those Red Bulls in 4th and 5th position as things stand. Yeah, this is definitely Josh's in lap. And then Thundo currently sits in 6th position. Tindo crashed out, having set a 110.535, currently P7 as things stand. With about 3.5 or so minutes to go. D-Wax currently sits in P8. And we're going to actually stay on board here with D-Wax as he opens up that wing in this second sector. What does it look like from your perspective? D-Wax into the chicane. Nice and easy does it. Yeah, don't want to go too close to that wall, D-Wax. Keeping it nice and clean here into this hairpin. You're about 2/100ths down. 2/100 quicker, that is, from the previous time that you had set. So maybe you could nudge past Tindo here, D-Wax. What can you do on this straight? Of course, the DRS is open once again on this straight. He is now thinking about the braking zone. Will you nail it? No, you won't. He was actually going quicker, but he opted to come back into the pit lane. So, well, D-Wax seems to be, well, quite happy with the time that he had set as one of the Red Bulls makes their way out here. And Bongs, as you can see, is currently on an outlap. But let's see Loveness, actually, who is on the verge of finishing definitely what would be their first. Well, Loveness coming into the pit lanes as well. That's quite surprising, Loveness. Just one lap old tires there. You're coming into the pit lane. Wing change, perhaps? Well, you have got just about 2.5 minutes to go. You haven't set a time, Loveness. We want to see those lap times there. Selby, what can you do? He's been one of the most consistent racers in this league. And really keeps his nose out of trouble, does Selby. Oof, really cutting it fine as far as the track limits there is concerned, and has invalidated there. So Selby with a couple of invalidations today. Struggling to contend with those track limits is Selby in this qualifying session, but maybe you can see some redemption towards the end of this session. Well, you have just under 2 minutes to go, Selby. Meanwhile, Nicholas, what can you do in the second sector? Through this slower chicane does Nicholas go. And yeah, cutting it really fine as far as the proximity to the wall there is concerned. And takes that chicane quite cleanly, does Nick. Looking to improve on that 112.025. Really, yeah, hoping maybe to breach into the 111s, maybe even 110s, depending on how you're doing into the start of this third sector. For you, Nicholas, well, how will this go? He really pushes it on that straight into that final chicane before the final straight. What can you do here? Ooh, yes. Make sure not to go too close to the wall there, but hey, we've been back and forth. Well, has not yet improved there on that 112.025 is Nicholas. So, yeah, definitely some work to do, but perhaps this will be the hot lap attempt from you, Nick. Meanwhile, let's catch up with some of the other top runners. Lung Seathway batters their time, goes 108.974. And meanwhile, by the way, Mello had set a 109.851 as one of their best times, but Mello looks to be going a little slower this time towards the end of qualifying. Oh, it looks to be up by about 8/100ths of a second is Mello the Mello in this starting second sector. Let's actually stay with Mello and see how the rest of this qualifying lap, how the rest of this attempt goes for you, Mello the Mello. Absolutely perfect there through that chicane goes Mello. Geez, Seaflay, exclaims Capoza in the comments section. We've lost the McLarens, as a lot of you are noting, but Mello the Mello has gone sweetly through that hairpin, and as you open that rear wing and push it towards the final chicane, how can you hang on to that? Mello the Mello invalidates, unfortunately, could not challenge, could not improve on that hot time set by Seaflay. By the way, Zotile also breached into the 109s, just one of two drivers. Currently sitting on that 109.753 is Zotile. But as things look, yeah, it looks like might be coming back on an in-lap here. So as things stand, we have Seaflay in provisional pole position, 108.974. Zotile currently sits in second place. And Mello the Mello will be at the start of that second row in P3. Damnesia, Josh, what a qualifying session for you. P4. Loveness, who really struggled to settle time for most of this session, comes through and slaps down a P5 on the table. Good going, Loveness. Lungs sits in sixth place, and Fundo and D-Wax are 7th and 8th respectively. Those teammates close together. And Tindo crashed out, but finished 9th, placed 9th. Bonds, as you can see, is 10th. Then we have Romeo, Titus, Man Ray, Nicholas. Selby is 15th, Inati is 16th, and the 86er will start at the back of this grid, having not set a qualifying time. That is your grid, everybody. This is Tier 1 of Breakaway F1. These are top-tier drivers. We're about to get racing in a matter of seconds. In the comments, you've been cheering on the Red Bulls. And, of course, Tapisa was saying T1 is pulling the fastest time on T2 on a first try. Yeah, these are top-tier drivers. Titus Mustarter Medium says of the real Capoza. Well, we will see what kind of a decision Titus goes with here. We saw time penalties aplenty yesterday. Will we have a similar situation here today? Well, would not be too surprised there. Well, we will begin this Canadian Grand Prix shortly. But as ever, before we do, a quick word from one of our sponsors. The Formula One theme music, reimagined by a choir. No instruments, just soothing voices of the iconic South African group, Amatodana as a Westfield. By the way, only available soon on cassette and CD. We don't know why. Those are the only options. Well, thank you very much. We're now just about to begin this Canadian Grand Prix with just mere seconds to go. And by now, the drivers will have a clear idea of even what the weather looks like. What are your expectations? What are your predictions? Who will win this race, according to you? By the way, one of the stories of the day, as Mello the Mello attempts to make a revenge comeback mission here to hopefully win this race, well, he has Seaflay, Zotile, Titus to contend with, but Titus has to work his way up this grid. If Seaflay wins 2 more races and perhaps 1 more podium finish, Seaflay will win this season of Breakaway F1 Tier 1. Well, are you one of Seaflay's fans? Are you rooting for Zotile or Mello the Mello, who was on a resurgent revenge mission after the heartbreak of last time around in France? Haha! We would love to hear that. Well, Capoza says Seaflay takes the win. Titus will be on podium. Well, Lagello, thank you very much for the positive comments there regarding some of our sponsors. And and Pat, so it's good to see you in the comment section as well. And yeah, it was a pretty dramatic qualifying session for the McLarens. We are super, super, super keen to get a sense of how this race will be panning out. We absolutely cannot wait here on Breakaway F1. With just about 20 seconds to go, the weather has shifted. It is a rainy start to this race. Tire strategy changed. Car setup perhaps tweaked if they can. With just about 8 seconds to go, this makes things very, very interesting here at the start of this race. We love some drama here on Breakaway F1. M. Paso says, Seaflay is the unstoppable force. Another win on the cards for him. Haha. Fire emojis at the rain from Seps here. Well, we have seen our fair share of drama here on Breakaway F1. We've seen the Tier 2 drivers, struggle for traction, struggle for grip in such conditions. We've seen the Tier 1 drivers, pretty much have the most dramatic of finishes, the most dramatic of circumstances in rainy conditions. But today, we are braced for another potential classic. Maspano is so excited for the drama as we see the lights go up and they're about to go out, and these drivers are gone. Titus racks up a time penalty for that false start for pretty much anticipating that. Oh, we already see cars crashing and slipping and sliding out there, but we have lost nobody at the moment, thankfully, as Seaflay somehow manages to keep on the lead. It is very, very slow here. This battle between Mello the Mello and Zotal struggling for grip through that slow corner, as of course it is a virtual safety car. Just like that, Mello the Mello has made up one place from Zotal, has nicked that place from Zotal, as this Canadian Grand Prix begins under virtual safety car. Tindo has had a nightmare start and slips all the way down to the bottom of this grid. Titus anticipated that start way too early and racked up a drive-through penalty. Let us see exactly how things change as far as the start of this race is concerned. A huge, huge drop for Josh, who had a stormer of a qualifying session. Now finds himself P13, does Josh. A nightmare start for Josh, who has actually had really, really bad luck for quite a string of races in recent times. Lost, as you can see, between 8 and 9 places. Zotal lost 1 place, Romeo lost 4, and Tindo is at the bottom. And from what we were seeing there, he looks to have retired. But it looks like we're back on the way. BSC has ended. Struggling for grip are all these drivers. What can they do? Oh, the battle between Zotal and Loveness is intense as Loveness makes sure to avoid that wall. Seaflay, of course, comes through still in P1. Mello fighting. Loveness, very late on the brakes there, is really giving Zotal a heck of a lot to think about. Look how slow they're having to take it. Look how carefully they're having to take it through these slower corners. It is still early. These tires are still cold. The conditions are wet. Grip is at a premium here, but Seaflay has already built up a second gap between themselves and Mello the Mello. Ooh, as Loveness goes quite wide over there, but manages to keep control of the car. As you can see, Loveness, what a qualifying session you had, and you've now gained a place. You are in P4, but that gap between Seaflay and Mello the Mello is 1.3 seconds. We have lost Bongs. Bongs was P9, has crashed out of this race. Virtual safety car once again. It is not the full safety car, thankfully. Bongs and the other Ferrari has crashed out of this race. He is out. And now, as things stand, as the cars slow down under virtual safety car, Mello the Mello closes that gap once again to Seaflay, and Zotal has been on Mello the Mello's tail pretty much from the start here. And as these drivers now make their way around, carefully trying not, of course, to rack up any penalties, trying not to crash into each other, we will see exactly how things pan out. Tier 2 is calling Bongs, screams Ban Kobe in the comment section. Well, we will see in due time. As things stand, Seaflay leads In this third lap under virtual safety car, Mello the Mello is currently in second place, having gained the 1 place since the start. Zotiles currently sits in P3 as things stand, followed by Loveness close behind, fourth. And Damnesia Josh, nightmare start, racks up a time penalty or drive-through penalty for speeding on the safety car. But the VSC has ended and Seaflay has taken full advantage to build that second up to 2 seconds between himself and Mello the Mello, who is now fighting off Zotal, who can pretty much see that gearbox, who can pretty much smell the fumes coming out of the back of Mello the Mello's car. This is what it looks like from Zotal's perspective. Let's look at that as some of the battles are unfolding further down the grid. Just 2/10 between Zotal and Mello the Mello, and Seaflay, meanwhile, on these wet tires, has managed to build the gap. Mello goes wide. Zotal says, "Thank you very much. I will take that pretty much on a silver platter. You gave that P2 position to me." Mello the Mello struggling for grip as those intermediate tires are not exactly even, remotely, warm even in these conditions, as you can imagine. But Zotal takes full advantage. Mello the Mello, who's still getting to grips with the lack of grip, now has to think about fighting off Loveness behind him, who is about 2/10 behind Mello the Mello. The gap in P2, 2.5 seconds, give or take a tenth. And Loveness, as we watch Loveness here, he is sniffing down the neck of Mello the Mello. Will you get that move done? Titus in P9 sets a 123.021. Has a lot of work to do. As Musbano asks, what's going on with Josh? Yeah, Josh has had a nightmare start and now has that drive-through penalty to contend with as well. Josh is sitting all the way in P14, having qualified much, much higher than that. As things stand, Loveness sits in 4th position. Lund, Zotal's teammate, is in P5. Here we're looking to get back up to fight as much as Bundo in the AlphaTauri, going nice and steady, about a second and a half behind Lungs here, and his teammate D-Wax close behind in that other AlphaTauri. Nicholas is in the points as the 86er sets a 122.167. The 86er, has a fight in his hands as well at the back of the grid. Titus has a long way to go here in rainy conditions if he is going to have any say as far as podium finishes are concerned. He's no stranger to finishing on the podium. Is Titus, one of the superstars of Tier 1 here, currently sitting in P9. Selby is in 10th place, currently at C-Place at a 121.282 fastest time. Mandre is currently in 11th place. Inati is currently 12th there in that hash, as you can see. Tindo also had a nightmare start, currently in 13th place. Romeo currently in 14th. Josh Damnesia is 6 seconds behind Romeo in 15th place, coming through that hair cut out if he is going to somehow work his way into the points. It's going to have to be a strategy masterclass. Let's go back to the front. Seaflay currently leads about 2.5 seconds ahead of Zotal, who has managed to extend that gap between himself and Mello the Mello to 2.5 seconds himself, as we see Loveness rack up a time penalty for those track incursions. There is no grip. This track is notorious for being unforgiving as far as potential time penalties is concerned, and well, Loveness is the first to rack up that time penalty. We are watching Zotal here, who has his eyes fixed on Seaflay, driving with clenched teeth, looking down at the back of that Ferrari. Can you trim that gap down? Well, at the moment, yes, it was 2.5 seconds. Now it's down to about 2.2 seconds. And that gap between yourself, Zotal, and Mello the Mello was now 3 seconds. So Mello, in wet conditions, not quite the master class, not quite the absolute clinic that he gave on hard tires out in France. Mello the Mello is going to have to dig deep in this 6th lap of 35 here in Canada. If this is to be Mello's revenge arc on Seaflay, there's a long way to go. There's a lot of work to do here. 6 laps out of 35. Mello is really falling back, laments Caboza in the comments section. Indeed, he is. And as he does that, that brings Loveness into contention. Now, early on in the season, out in Austria, we saw Loveness put on a master class of wet weather driving, stretching his set of intermediate tires for more than 20 laps. And then he went into the pits quite late into that race, so we know Loveness is quite comfortable in these conditions, and he can give Mello a hard time here. And we'll be watching that closely. That's come down to Titus, who is now about 6/10 behind Nick in that other Mercedes. Nick really wants to finish the points here as Titus comes really close to potentially damaging his wing as Nick spins! Nick has gone off track here. Oh, lost grip but did not lose the car. He breathes a sigh of relief as, as the Alfa Romeo of Selby can smell blood here. Titus said, "Thank you very much. I will take that if you give it to me on a silver platter." M. Fundo is now breathing down Lugs' neck, struggling for grip here on these intermediate tires, which seem to be the best option in these wet conditions. Not yet conditions for a set of full wet tires. Intermediate are all the drivers are on a set of intermediate tires. We are 7 laps into the 35-lap race, and we are watching M. Fundo chasing down Lungs here in P5, and Lungs will look to, get to stretch that gap to a second or more. Of course, no DRS in these conditions, which are treacherous for all of these. Seb Piso in the comments says, Josh has never been an underdog. Yeah, Josh has definitely had a nightmare of a race as far as he's concerned. And pretty much follows a string of good qualifying sessions and just horrid racing conditions, which really just left him in the worst of luck. But Lungs is hoping to chase down, or rather, Mfundo looking to chase down Lungs here as we lose Romeo. Mandla, Romeo is the second driver to crash out of this race here in Canada. He is out. The yellow flags are out, and, Mandla crashed out, and full safety car conditions. The safety car is out. Who can take advantage further back in the track? Selby takes advantage of the safety car and comes into the pits, but it's still wet conditions. Only the drivers know how things will look towards the end of this race. What will you do, Selby? You're the first driver into the pits. It's a fresh set of intermediates, which suggests that these conditions will continue for quite some time yet still. Let's catch up with the leader, Seaflay, as we now know that Selby has come into the pits. Perhaps Seaflay will just opt to keep track position here and take things nice and steady here in lap 8 of 35. Quite impressive that it's only Loveness who has racked up that time penalty. It has not yet turned into a time penalty shootout as far as track limit incursions is concerned. We often hear that, of course, in Tier 2, but these are Tier 1 drivers. These are top tier drivers. And this, Seaflay, is our championship contender in P1, leading from Zotal. Now, your grid, as things stand, the Seaflay is in the lead. Will you deem it necessary to come into the pit, Seaflay? Let's see. Are you... No, I'll carry on, says Seaflay. I'll just keep it nice and steady. I'll keep my track position. Zotal is in P2. He says, yeah, I'll stay out as well. They're trying to catch up to the safety car. And these conditions are quite welcome for Mello, who had lost quite a lot of time to those top 2 runners. And now Mello will have a second bite of the cherry, possibly keeping up with the top 2 runners. Keeping up with the Kardashians. Keeping up with the top 2. Starting Mello in P3. P4 is Loveness currently, and Lungs in that other Red Bull currently sits in 5th place. M. Fundo in that AlphaTauri, nice and steady in 6th place. His teammate D-Wax in 7th. Nick is in the points as things stand. Of course, we saw him have a scary moment, which let through Titus earlier on. You're in P8. Enati in that Haas is in P9. Titus opted to pit for a set of medium tires in these conditions. The roll of the dice from Titus and his teammate Tindo, who has opted for a set of medium tires. Rolling the dice are these in these conditions, which are definitely still slippery. So definitely want to watch how these guys fare in these conditions. It might turn out to be a masterclass as far as are concerned. In P10, Man Ray is 11th, Selby is 12th. Tindo, of course, has gone with the same strategy as his teammate. Josh, a.k.a. Damnesia, is coming out of the pit lane in P14, also in a set of medium tires, as is the 86er. So by now, they have decided we are going to be the first to roll the dice here. and go on the set of intermediate tires as the leaders take it nice and slow and steady and decide to finally come into the pits. But will it be too late? Will it be too late? The only person who stayed out is Mellow the Mellow, as pretty much all of the other top runners, Mellow the Mellow and Nick, have opted to stay out on those intermediate tires. Oh, is this a masterclass for Mellow the Mellow? What does he know that the rest of this grid does not? Mellow the Mellow, Nick, the only drivers currently who are opting to stick with those intermediate tires. It seems that Man Ray is among that bunch. That Selby, who seemed to have come into the pits, is stuck on those intermediate tires as well. Well, is this the right way to go? The track looks to be drying up, but what are the race engineers at Mercedes saying? What are they saying in your ear, Mellow the Mellow? What are they saying to you, Nick? You stayed out, as most of the grid has opted for those medium tires. Are you thinking, well, I'm going to take full advantage of these slippery conditions and try to blitz the rest of the grid and then come into the pit lane? Well, he's trying to take a peek at the outside of that safety car, is Mellow the Mellow. What kind of a decision? How do you see this decision panning out? Was this the right move for Mellow the Mellow to make? He is, of course, a driver on a revenge mission after the heartbreak in France last time out when he was overtaken in the final lap. But here he is in the 10th lap of 35, leading the Canadian Grand Prix as we wait for the safety car to come back in. And indeed, it is in this lap. If he carries on, well, he opts to carry on. Yep. Looked like he might have been feigning a pit entry, but no, Mellow the Mellow is going to carry on. But the safety car did not come in. Well, that is very, very interesting. We're still under safety car, and by now, the rest of the grid has bunched up. Some of the other intermediate tire runners who had not pitted are opting to do so as things stand. So maybe Mellow the Mellow is going to be the big loser here as this track is drying up. Oof. Might be kicking themselves are Mellow and Nick. And as things stand, the rest of the grid, Seaflay, who had come into the pits on those medium tires, is in P3. Zotal sits 4th. Loveness, what a day he's had, currently P5. Titus, who had a nightmare start, is currently in P6. Of course, Titus was the first to blink, one of the first to put on those medium compound tires, and has caught up to 6th place. Cabozo saying, well, the safety car was supposed to come in, and it did this yesterday as well. So, yeah, quite bizarre there from the safety car, but Titus currently sits in that 6th place. Love is in 7th. D-Wax is in 8th place. Imati currently sitting in 9th, as you can see here. Comes Imati in that hat. Man Ray, almost 10 lap old. Intermediate is currently P10. Tindo is in P11. Damnesia Josh is 12th. Their teammate Selby is currently in 13th place, and Thundo has gone all the way to 14th, having pitted later. And the 86er is still at the back of this grid here. Caboza saying the Mellow and Nick had a bad strategy call. Come on, safety car, go in already. We want to see you make your way into the pit lane, and it looks like it's definitely gone in. Yep, finally, Mellow blinks and comes into the pit lane. His teammate, Nick, well, no double stack there. It looks like Nick was charged with keeping this a Ferrari at bay, but he cannot. With those slick tires, Seaflay goes on the inside. And, of course, now it's the outside line for Zotal, who's going to look to keep it nice and steady. And does Zotal get that move done? He gets that move done. Nick is slipping and sliding his way down the grid. Currently sits in 4th place. Zotal managed to get that move past Nick done quickly and is staring down Seaflay by about 7/10, the gap between those two. Loveness, who has had a scorcher of a race so far, currently in a podium place, of course, with a time penalty. Josh racks up the second time penalty of the day, and racks up that 3-second time penalty, as it looked slightly from this perspective that Loveness was slipping and sliding a little bit. Mellow Nick have it all to do here, having made a seemingly bad strategy call, and of course the safety car went way longer than it was supposed to there. So, yeah, Mellow the Mellow, definitely the big loser in that situation. But Loveness is currently in third place. Let's see how Seaflay fares on this straight. Will you be able to keep this position? Ooh, definitely took some liberties there. And, ooh, we're going to come close to the wall, did Seaflay, as Zotile is really managing to stay on his tail, as is Loveness here. Absolutely scorcher from these top three runners. Titus has been fighting back and finds himself currently in fourth place. Ooh, 13 laps out of 35 as Josh sets a fastest 1 minute 15.416. Tabang in the comment section says Titus is doing his magic. We've all seen Titus absolutely destroy things, absolutely smash things, absolutely set a scorcher as far as lap times and tire management is concerned. But Titus has racked up a time penalty of 3 seconds as things stand. Oh my word. So Titus, although he's fighting hard to get back into it, he will now have to contend with that 3-second time penalty. Titus will be praying that the rest of those top runners will also, well, rack up those time penalties as things stand. But yeah, this is the 13th lap of 35 here in Canada. Absolutely scorching. Look at that. 8 places Titus has made up since the start of this race. Absolutely incredible. Seaflay sets a 113.199 as, of course, with these slicker tires in these dry conditions, these lap times will begin to fall and fall and fall. As you can see here, Titus is in 4th position, and he has Loveness to think about, who's just about 6th or 5/10ths ahead of him. Or rather, 2 seconds, I beg your pardon, ahead of Titus. The gap between Zotile and Loveness is about 7/10ths, but Zotile has fallen 2 seconds behind Seaflay. You can still see Seaflay there in the distance, but Seaflay, of course, is a master of controlling the lead, a master of dictating turns from the front. So Zotile will have his work cut out for him as he thinks about this Alpine on his tail. Let's see what things look like from your perspective, Zotile. In the distance, Seaflay is slipping away. As we see Zotile here, but he is pushing and getting that gap down to just about 2 seconds. Now let's take a look at the telemetry here so we get a sense of how he's doing as far as battery management is concerned. Well, Zotile is fighting and fighting, but Loveness looks to be fighting even harder here to make sure that Zotile knows and feels that absolute pressure here in P2 here. An absolute scorcher of a race so far from Loveness. A little bit further down, D-Wax is having the battle of his life with Damnesia Josh, who has fought his way all the way up to P6, having slid down and languished in 13th and 14th recently was Damnesia. So hell of a drive from Josh, aka Damnesia there. But of course, all of these drivers have racked up penalties. As you can see, it has become a time penalty shootout as Encasana notes that Ferrari is pushing and pushing hard. Oh yes, it is Encasana. That Ferrari of Seaflay is absolutely pushing as hard as he possibly can here. Zotile has 2.7 seconds to think about between himself and Titus. Of course, will be watching this one very, very closely. None of these drivers have clashed into that wall of champions, which of course took out, I believe, Titus in the qualifying session. But Titus, the driver who is no stranger to managing his tires, who is no stranger to fighting back, is currently in P4. Do you think Titus can finish on the podium with here in lap 16 of 35? Let us know in the comment section. And of course, we'll be looking to hear how the rest of your race goes. Well, Capoza was asking in the comment section, what happened to the 86er? Well, the 86er took advantage of the safety car conditions and fought his way back from the back of the grid to P10. The 86er is now back in the points in this Williams here, and the 86er is driving clean, has no time penalty. And look at that battery. Look at that battery as far as the 86er is concerned. He has been racking it up, saving it up. And now he is got Mfundo in his sights, just 5/10 between these two. What can the 86er do here to get and steal a march on Mfundo? Knowing Titus, you will finish on the podium, says Tabang, presumably responding to that comment or to that question from a little bit earlier. We have ourselves a mini DRS train here if in these dry conditions, as you look all the way from pretty much from D-Wax up until the 86er. Yeah, they've pretty much fought their way here. And of course, we know Mello the Mello had a nightmare race. He's now fighting off Tindo in that other McLaren. Can you get that move done, Tindo? That rear wing is open into this first long corner. No, you cannot. You cannot as things stand. Oof, Tindo is going to be fighting and fighting, looking to get this move done as soon as possible here. So a whole lot of battles happening all over the grid. Mello the Mello is driving on a revenge mission. Looking to make up for the horror, the heartbreak of having been overtaken on that final lap in France. But today, Mello the Mello is on the classic fight back mission. Will you make it into the points, Mello the Mello? Well, perhaps, but Tindo is not going to make life easy for you. We will come back to see how this battle pans out. There's another epic battle between Inati and D-Wax here, or rather, Inati, D-Wax, and Mfundo. Inati is sandwiched between the two AlphaTauris here. Zotal is losing time, says Tapiso. As far as the race leadership is concerned, yes, we'll catch up with them, and we'll see if Inati will manage to get this move done. He's been sniffing and sniffing as he goes on the... gets the inside line into the chicane. That was sweetly done by Inati to overtake D-Wax. And now the two AlphaTauris go side by side there. Who will get that inside line? Woo! And Mfundo now is now ahead of D-Wax. What a battle that was between the AlphaTauris and that Haas there. The gap between the leader and P2 has now been stretched to almost 4 seconds. And indeed, it is 4 seconds. None of these top two drivers, that being Seaflay and Zotal, have racked up a time penalty as things stand. Well, we see the viewership keeps on trickling up and down. If you've just joined us, we are in the 18th lap of 35 here in Canada. The time penalties are racking up as Nkasana laments the one that Titus has just racked up. Titus has to contend with a 6-second time penalty, which will cost him dearly, especially if those other runners do not get any time penalties. It's very, very, very tight here in lap 19 of 35. And let's take a look at how things are looking as far as tires are concerned here, as Loveness looks to take this battle to Zotal for days and days and days. The oldest set of tires currently belongs to Titus, who was the first to come into the pit, and his tires are now 10 laps old. But of course, in his fight back, Titus has racked up 6 seconds worth of time penalties. So, not necessarily a comeback kid tail as far as potential podium plates for Titus is concerned. He's going to have to work his socks off and hope potentially for incidents and more safety cars if he is to take advantage. Well, we will see. Of course, he's no stranger to fighting back, but this is Loveness, who is fighting for his life here, hoping to get a potential P2 spot, which would be a stunning result for Loveness if he can get this move done here. And that gap between Zotal and Seaflay keeps on extending and extending further and further. Now 4.1 seconds. So, as they look to overtake the Ghost of Man Ray there, it is absolutely scorching the kind of drive that Seaflay is putting on with just 15 laps to go here on those set of medium tires. Can they go to the end on the set of tires? Well, we might see, especially if we have another incident, if we lose another driver, we might see these guys opt for a set of soft tires to make that final push towards the end. Loveness racks up another time penalty to put him on par with Titus on 6 seconds worth of time penalties, as we are watching him absolutely fight here to get a sniff on Zotal. But Zotal is no stranger to being chased down. Zotal is no stranger to being absolutely under pressure. And he will hold his nerve here, perhaps, presumably. Well, he has yet to rack up a time penalty. He is driving for his life, running for his life away from Loveness. without any time penalty incursions. Let's catch up with this battle here between Inati and the 86er. Inati and and Fundo, I beg your pardon, who absolutely took a sniff but could not get that move done into that hairpin. Absolutely close to those two go. And Fundo will now look to take full advantage here. Will open up that rear wing, and Fundo, look at that. He has absolutely punched his battery, but he cannot get this move done. Take some liberties. Inati really nearly going into the wall of champions there, and Fundo taking advantage there and almost gets that move done on Inati. Absolutely fighting hard is Inati here, who has had an absolute scorcher of a final part of this season. Remember, in this championship, Inati currently sits on one championship point. What a day possibly could be as far as points hauls for Inati. And what a drive, what a defense. Keeping Mfundo away, keeping him, holding him at bay. Mfundo is sniffing, trying to get a look in here into this much quicker corner, and then of course that's coming to the breaking zone into this chicane, and this battle of course has brought the 86er into contention. Let's catch up here with Loveness and see, can you get this move done? He is on the outside of Zotal, gonna get into the chicane, he gets it done! He does not hit that wall, and he's got past Zotal. Zotal finally gets his time penalty. He's fighting back here. They go side by side into the first corner. Well, Zotal, will you get that move done? No, says Loveness. You're going to have to work a lot harder than that. You're going to have to fight harder than that. Zotal has lost P2 to Loveness. What a battle. What a fight it was. Loveness getting that move done. He had been sniffing and sniffing, huffing and puffing, hoping to blow that house, that Red Bull down, and Zotal finally caved in as the likes of Titus even is inching closer and closer here into this battle. Seps says Loveness is the driver of the day. Do you agree? 22 laps into 35 here? Well, let us know in the comment section. Tapiso seems to rate Loveness as his driver of the day. And we have lost Tindo. Tindo has crashed out in the McLaren, bringing out the safety car. It is a time penalty shootout indeed. Lungallo's safety car is out. What will you do? Seaflay, where are you? You have time enough. Perfect timing. That safety car for Seaflay. Perfect timing to come into the pits and take full advantage there. He almost had gone past by the time the safety car came out there. So, well, it's good news for Loveness. It's good news for Seaflay, who will trim that gap down, which was a whole 9 seconds. Can you imagine? And they will trim that gap that Seaflay had all the way down. Someone who has opted to stay out on his set of medium tires is Titus. Now, Titus perhaps can afford to take mega risks owing to those penalties that he's racked up. He's racked up these 6 seconds worth of time penalties. It's not that bad. So it's quite surprising that Titus has opted to stay out. Do you agree with this decision that Titus has taken? Well, he has 6 seconds worth of time penalties, as you can see. This little bout of pitting has left Seaflay in P2. Loveness currently sits third, having overtaken Zotal in an epic fashion to relegated Zotal to P4 because of Titus's decision to stay out. The 86er, what a day he's had. Just 3 seconds worth of time penalties. Started all the way at the back, and now currently sits in P5. What a day for the 86er here. Lunds is currently in P6 on a set of soft compound tires. Josh, who had that nightmare start, is currently in 7th place. Fundo is in 8th in the AlphaTauri. And Inati, what a battle they had a couple of laps ago, currently in P9. D-Wax has also had a very, very, very good day out here. But, of course, as you can see, those time penalties, 6 seconds for Inati and D-Wax. Mellow the Mellow, who had a bad call as far as strategy is concerned, finds himself all the way down in P11. Nicholas, his teammate, is 10 seconds behind in P12. Selby, no time penalties, but all the way down in P13. And Man Ray, it was the Ghost of Man Ray, but it looks like he has re-established connection. Man Ray is currently in P14 here in Canada. We have 9 laps to go, and perhaps we will have 8 laps of hard racing. How do you see this panning out? stories all over the grid. Seaflay is looking to rack up 2 more wins to really all but guarantee the title here. F1 Breakaway. What a season he's had. Absolutely dominating races. Absolutely setting scorching times as far as qualifiers are concerned. What a day he has had. Let's go back and take a look at the tire selections here. Titus, of course, on those old tires, but knowing Titus, he's not just on 15-lap old, regular tires. We're talking here about Titus, which are 15 laps old in this instant. And, well, you never know. What a miracle, what a day would be for Titus if he can somehow hold off some of these other tire runners. It's going to take a heck of a miracle, I'll tell you that. And, yeah, that one's going to take a heck of a miracle. But, well, we've seen stranger things. This is Formula One, of course. Anything can happen. We're waiting now for the safety car to come back in. What a day we've had out here in Canada. We've lost Tindo McLaren. We've lost Romeo, a.k.a. Mandla, in that Alpine. And we've lost Bonds in the Ferrari. But what a day we've had here. We're hoping for 8 laps of absolutely scorching racing. Will the safety car make its way in this time around? Let us see. The answer is no. The safety car is still out here on track. Seaclay is still out here in P2. Titus leads under safety car conditions as the cars weave left and right, trying to keep a semblance of temperature in those soft and medium compound tires. Now, as we know, from time to time, a colder set of medium tires is a nightmare to get cracking again when the race restarts here. But we are going to have an absolute scorcher of a rest of the race. I beg your pardon, my maths was absolutely off there. I was hoping actually for about 12 or 11 laps, not 8 laps of racing, because we're now in lap 25 of 35. So yeah, perhaps we will have about 9 or so laps of racing. And we cannot wait. If you've just joined us, you are watching Breakaway F1. These are top tier drivers, and they race every Monday and Wednesday here on Breakaway F1. What a scorcher we've had. What a dramatic race we've had out here in Canada. And we cannot wait for the race to restart. The word from race control is that the safety car is in at the end of this lap. Well, we will go racing again. We will absolutely put the pedal to the metal. Hit that pedal to the floor and get this race back underway once again. What a day we've had here in Canada. And now we wait to see how these drivers fare as the race is about to restart. Titus has slowed things all the way down here, and he's going to look to take full advantage of the restart. You're looking at Seaflay keeping things nice and straight. Titus is slow, struggling for grip. Seaflay has much more grip into this straight here. Can he take full advantage here? Seaflay, Loveness is on the inside. Is that a dive bomb? But no, he cannot get the move done. Zotal going to take advantage of Loveness not having grip. Seaflay is still on Titus's tail. Somehow, Titus on those far older tires has managed to keep the lead from Seaflay. Into the chicane he goes. Followed closely by Seaflay. Zotal has managed to get that place back from Loveness. He has managed to fight back, but this is the battle that we're watching here, the battle for the lead here, as Nick racks up to another time penalty. Titus is holding on these old tires. These old classic 17 laps old tires. Oh, we got Titus. Are 17 laps old, and Seaflay can smell blood here. Just 4/10 the gap between these two. Seaflay, the only driver among these top runners who has yet to rack up a 3-second time penalty, which would sprinkle some drama if it were to happen, but Seaflay keeping things nice and clean here in Canada. Absolute scorcher. The gap between pretty much, the top 5 is about 4/10 consistently. They're absolutely staying on each other's tails, giving absolutely nothing away, and into the chicane he goes. Much less grip does Titus have, but absolutely clinical he goes through that section. Nobody crashes into that wall of champions And ooh, how close they're running. This is a DRS train. I hope it stays like this until the end of the race. The 86er down down in ninth place, inches up to from 10th to 9th as Mbundo gets that move done on Josh up to P6. But this is the one that we're so keen and curious to see whether or not they can get this move done. Zotal, you managed to fight back from Loveness. Can you execute? Can you get this move done? This is what it looks like from your perspective. Front row seats to that battle for P1 and P2. Out through that chicane they go. These, of course, are a fresher set of medium tires. And we will take a closer look at those penalties as the closer we get to the end of the race. Into the hairpin he goes. Ooh, absolutely cutting it fine, but not going too wide out here. This is why these drivers are so excellent. They absolutely know how to hit those braking points, how to go through those slow corners, and how to make sure that that gap does not extend further than 4/10, as you can see between these top runners. Loveness has a front row seat as far as the battle for podium positions is concerned, and the DRS has been enabled as the race control sends through that message. We will now have a proper DRS train in the sense that those rear wings will open on those straights, and we will see who will finally get those potential attacking moves executed and done here. Oof, how close it is between Lungs and Mfundo, and between Lungs and Loveness here. Absolutely scorching. Seaplay goes side by side into this turn and gets the move done into the chicane. Absolutely no time penalties, but Seaplay gets that move done absolutely cleanly. And now the pedal to the metal. Seaplay reclaims the lead here in lap 28 of 35. What a drive it's been! Titus has to think about Zotal now. Ooh, they were side by side. Zotal, can you get this move done? They're side by side here. Who is going to be first? Whose nose is going to be first into the chicane? Nobody is giving anything away. And late braking, Zotal gets that move done. And he is into P2, having fought so hard to get back into the podium places in the Red Bull. Zotal gets that podium place done. Now Loveness can smell blood. Now Loveness has got his eye on Titus. Ooh, who is absolutely fighting for his life to keep these medium tires going. It's lap 29 of 35. Can you do it, Titus? Can you maintain? Oh, he's slipping and a sliding. He's slipping and a sliding as Titus. Things are absolutely difficult. Top tier racing, says Impacto in the comments. We absolutely agree. This is tier 1. These are our top tier drivers with top tier racing. The rear wing is open from Loveness, and he finally gets that move done on Titus there. So, having put up a valiant, gallant effort, Titus is out of the podium places with just 6 laps to complete here. And now Lungs can taste that potential P5 position. They made a little bit of contact, but did not get that move completed. Did not execute that move, did Lungs. Can you get it now done on this straight? Titus has struggled into this final chicane on the lesser grip. Oh, Lungs has the inside line. Oh, they made contact! They made contact! A little bit of contact, it seemed like, but he managed to keep that position. Let's catch up with the front runners now. Oh, what a battle it was between Titus and Lungs. But it looks like, Seakley has managed to extend that gap between himself and Zotal. But it is all off, gone. It is popping here. It is absolutely popping here, this battle for P4 and 5. Lungs, Titus, and Mfundo were absolutely fighting here. Lehua. MKG says the drivers are going to need eye drops here because the fighting has been absolutely, well, it's been a scorcher of a fight here, but let's watch and see how Damnesia fares in this battle between Titus and Mfundo, sandwiched between those cars. Lungs has slipped back here. He was fighting for a much higher position, but he has to fight his way all the way back as Mfundo goes all the way off and slips back into P7, which pretty much leaves Damnesia and Lungs to fight it out for that position, and he gets the move done. He manages to pass Titus before the braking zone. Oh, Titus absolutely struggling, slipping, dropping like a stone to a certain extent, but he's still in P5 on 22-lap-old medium tires. Oh, what a battle. What a fight he has put up, and currently, damage limitation as far as Titus is concerned. What an absolute scorching race we have had here as conditions have dried up. It was a wet start to the race. It was a dramatic start to the race. We have lost drivers throughout the race, and we had a couple of safety cars, and now, with just 4 laps to go, well, soon to be 3 laps to go, we have Zotal chasing down this man, Seafley, in the Ferrari, who has not racked up a single time penalty in this unforgiving track. What an effort it has been. What a drive it has been. An absolute masterclass from Seafley. 2 more wins. Well, of course, all these laps to go. The virtual safety car is out. And as we just take a look to confirm who exactly we might have lost here. It doesn't look like we've lost another driver. Might have been someone who's lost a wing, unfortunately, or someone who's gone off track and had hectic car damage. But, well, thankfully it's not a full safety car. It's just about 3 laps to go. Well, VSC has ended, and, of course, DRS has been enabled. And Cassiana said Seafley for driver of the day. Do you agree there? Do you agree there that Seafley is the driver of the day? Under VSC, Titus finally relented and opted to come into the pits. But of course, he was absolutely struggling there. But what an effort that was from Titus. And now, of course, he will struggle to get back into the points. What a race, what a day it's been for Seafley in the Ferrari. Potentially another 25 points if he can hold his nerve for just 2 more laps after this one. Zotal, 2.5 seconds behind Seafley. And Loveness, what a day you've had. Currently sitting in P3. Josh, aka Damnesia, had actually qualified roundabout in this place and now finds himself back among the top runners. But, well, Loveness has racked up 9 seconds worth of time penalties, as you can see. And let's just see what Amphindo is getting up to here as he tries to get a sniff on Lungs here. Can you get this move done? That rear wing is open. Here comes Amphindo, who will brake later. Well, Lungs keeps it nice and steady, but now he's absolutely on his tail. He can smell the fumes from the back of that Red Bull. It smells like energy to Go Amphindo! Say, well, the people cheering you on, people who are Team AlphaTauri, kind of losing a little bit there. And that gap extends to about 6/10. So Amphindo's got some work to do there. Look at those time penalties. Zotal, 6 seconds. Loveness, 9 seconds. Damnesia, Josh, 6-second time penalty. Lungs, 9-second time penalty. As does Amphindo and Inati, also on the same time penalty. And we'll stay with this battle as, it looks like the 86er is absolutely fighting Inati here. He is on his tail as these 3 drivers are absolutely duking it out. Yo! Ooh. The 86er loses it a little bit there, loses a little bit of grip. In 8th place there, Mello the Mellow wants to take full advantage. What a day he's had, qualified so high up, but a strategy mishap saw him slip all the way down. Tabang in the comments says, Seafley, beak with beak, numero uno. Beak with beak, of course, is a South African phrase meaning week after week, time after time. He is among the front runners as we saw, looked to be a car that had stopped earlier in the track there. But this DRS train is keeping things pretty much entertaining here in this final stretch of the race. But let's catch up with the race leader, Seafley. I looked for a split second like it might have been a tricky kind of start to that chicane. But Seafley is keeping it nice and steady, nice and clean, as even Zotal has racked up 6 seconds worth of time penalties. So, whatever happens here, Seafley need not take unnecessary risks. But knowing Seafley, he will want to win this fair and square on track, even if he has the advantage as far as the rest of the grid's time penalties are concerned. Absolutely cruising as Seafley in P1 as he begins the start of his final lap. Zotal sits in 2nd place, and Loveness is in 3rd, but with that 9-second penalty, it looks like Josh, aka Damnesia, might just be on track for a potential podium finish. If you can hold your nerve, Damnesia, and make sure you can get, trim that gap to Loveness and take advantage of that greater time penalty that Loveness has. Well, what a day we've had. Mfundo looks to be, has had a hell of a battle here in the midfield. Entertaining battles with the likes of Inati, the 86er, and now Lunds. Mfundo is just 8/10 of a second away from Lunds. What a race from Sequay, says Mpatso. Let us watch him here coming through the final stretch of this track here. Into the final chicane goes Sequay. It is now 35 of 35. He qualified in pole position. He dominated. He was challenged. He stood up to the challenge. No time penalty incursions. He crosses the line to win the Canadian Grand Prix after 35 laps of racing. Zotile in the Red Bull finishes in second place. Loveness hangs on as things stand to finish in P3. What a day for Loveness in the Alpine. Josh, the Amnesia finishes in P4. Absolutely great effort. Lungs finishes 5th and Fundo finishes in 6th place. Great day for him. Mello the Mellow will be kicking himself as he makes his redemption arc from heartbreak in 7th place. D-Wax will finish in 8th. The 86er had a resurgent drive to come back into 9th place there. And we've got the likes of Selby, of course. We've got, the likes of Selby as well. As you see, the driver of the day is the 86er. And Patso says it was a top race from Seafley. Different gravy. What a day we have had here. What a finish to the Canadian Grand Prix. Absolutely fantastic. As you can see, the 86er was 9th. Selby finished 10th. Inati was 11th. Titus is 12th. Nicholas 13th. Manray 14th. And, of course, Bongs and the likes of Tindo could not finish this race. What a great race, says Maspano. No penalties. Well done, 86er, says Maspano in the comment section. What a day we have had out here in Canada. So many storylines, so many battles all over this grid. It has been an absolute classic, an absolute scorcher here in Canada. Well, we're waiting now for our top finishers to make their way into this comment section, into this commentary box, I should say. Well, it has been an absolute classic of an effort from our championship leader, Seafley. You can almost sniff the championship. Congratulations. How does that feel? How was that?
That is great. I really enjoyed that race. Capitalized again on where people make mistakes. And just inching closer to the champion. 4 more races to go.
4 more races to go. If you win 1 more race and a potential podium finish, then it is in the bag. Do you still have personal targets as far as the rest of the season is concerned? Or are you kind of in a headspace where you're just calculating points and you just want to make it past the finish line as far as the championship is concerned?
I'm trying to win the championship before the last race.
Yeah.
So in the final race, I don't have to actually take it as serious and actually have more fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it has been a masterclass from you throughout this season. We've had fun watching you. We're having fun watching and learning from your absolute scorching pole-setting laps and your dominating race laps as well. Zotile, you had an absolute stormer of a race. You battled. You had some epic battles in between the safety cars. Congratulations, P2. You're no stranger to finishing on the podium. You're no stranger to being among the top runners. How was that from your perspective?
No, 100%. Firstly, shout out to Siki.
Yeah,
I think from the get go, he deserved that. Like from the time he said on quali, it was late. Like that time was ridiculous. Shout out to him. He deserved the win. Loveness. I wish he could join the party because that guy just gave me chills, man. Like I tried to open a gap from him, he didn't allow. So I think the strategy was to stay put, because at some point I was out of ERS and you were still behind me. I was like, hey, let me let him pass. Safety car comes out, He's still ahead of me, but I think he might have just messed up there the chase between Titus, Sihle, and himself. I was just saying behind him. I think might have shot his corner a bit too early there, which gave him an opportunity to just cut on the inside. And face the back. Titus tried to handle the older compound of mediums, but I think from the safety car and the pack having paid for new tires, it was going to be a lot of work. So I think he struggled from that point. Bad call from my side to go for mediums, very bad call. But I was able to pull through and take P2. So I think the best result I could get today is the results I got.
Yeah, and what a drive that was! What a absolute scorching battle he had there, especially as Titus opted to stay out on those set of older medium tires and really fight the rest of you. Sihle, it was quite important for you to get that move done on Titus. He managed to hold you off, I think, for about a lap before you got past him, or was it just under a lap?
I overtook him. I didn't want to overtake him by the main straight because I thought maybe Zotil will actually follow me.
Yeah.
So I wanted to just put a car between me and him for a few corners.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we saw Zotil pretty much throughout the grid. It became a time penalty shootout. This is one of the most unforgiving tracks. What is crucial for a driver to kind of, I suppose, maintain composure and pretty much, keep. In fact, I'll direct this question to Sihle first before I come to you, Zotal, because Sihle, somehow you managed to keep. You had 0 time penalties as the entire grid was racking them up. So what does it take?
I just took it a bit more easier.
Yeah.
Than I usually do around certain corners where I know I was more likely to get penalties. Other areas I was able to push as much as I wanted to. So that was great.
Incredible. 100%. We have been joined in this chat, in this commentary box, by the one, the only, Loveness. Congratulations, finishing on the podium. What a day, what a drive. How was that from your perspective? How on earth did you pull that off? Yes, we can hear you.
We can hear you, boy. 100%.
Yeah. Yeah. And we're absolutely ecstatic for you. We've seen you actually put up some amazing performances in these kinds of conditions. Austria was one such example. Is this something that you specifically look forward to? Like these sorts of conditions? Is it something that you relish? Yeah. Oh man.
100%. I've even said I think Loveness flourishes when it rains because man, and like his straight line speed, it's crazy. It's crazy in the wets. But shout out, man. For those who don't know, Sihle and Loveness were teammates, I think, last season.
Yeah,
right?
The Haas boys are back.
The Haas boys.
With a vengeance. And then, gentlemen, I just love you. I've heard, Sihle, what your targets are for the rest of the season. Loveness, you're having a brilliant second half to the season. What are your personal targets? And Zotal, what are your targets as well?
Loveness, you can shoot, bro.
Yeah.
100%.
Wow. Incredible. And you, Zotal, targets for the rest of the season?
It's been a very entertaining season. The battle between myself, Sihle, and Titus has just been lit throughout. But I think towards the end of the season, I think for everyone to see, I think Sihle is just running away with it. So I think the goal for now is to obviously maintain P2, and for myself and Luns to take the constructors. So I think that will be the priority for the rest of the season.
Absolutely brilliant. We absolutely love watching you guys do your thing. It is so entertaining. The quality of the racing is absolutely fantastic. Cannot wait to see how the remaining races go. Congratulations to all three of you and your constructors. And thank you everybody who had tuned in to this 20th installment of F1 Breakaway F1 Tier 1 in Canada. We will see you at the next race for these drivers on Tuesday next week. Thank you and good night.
Thank you. Thanks and good night, guys.
Cheers.
Congrats.